Yes, good day once again. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I can see a couple of people are on the call. Can we verify if you can hear me clearly? I want to be sure you can hear me clearly. If I'm audible enough. Hello, Priscilla. Hello, Ifelua. Hello, Oyekemi. Thank you for joining in. I want to verify if you can hear me. You can just send a message in the chat box if you can hear me, or you can give a reaction. Oh, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Ifelua. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Once again, thank you everyone for logging in. We'll be starting in earnest. Yeah, but I'll just first of all like to welcome everybody to this webinar. Good evening, Oyekemi. Thank you so much for logging in. Yeah, I want to thank everyone for being around for this webinar. Yeah, thank you so much for being around, and I trust that you would have a very productive time and you would learn much. Yeah, so I just want to admonish us to get our daughters ready. Yeah, get our daughters ready so we can jot things down so we could also apply them. Because the essence of being in a webinar like this is not just for us to come together and share things, but so that we can also apply them. Yes, the application is more important than just the information. Yeah, so I believe we are set for that. I think I would just like to engage us for a little bit if you would indulge me. So can we maybe you can unmute if you can, but if you cannot, you can just send me where you are joining us from, where in Nigeria you're joining from, or if you're outside Nigeria, you could also drop it in the chat session so I can know where we are joining from. Welcome, Latifat. I think I've prepared you already. Yeah. So can you just drop in the comment section so I can know where we are joining from. I currently am in Ibadan. I don't think I said my name. That's part. So sorry. My name is Deborah Oladele. Yeah, so and I'll be your anchor. I'll be the anchor for tonight's session. Yeah, I'll be the anchor for tonight's session. Yes. So I'm looking forward to seeing our comments. Sorry, I'm looking at two screens. So I'm trying to look for our comments as soon as we drop so I don't miss them. All right. So like I said, I'm Gbadebo Adewale. I'm currently in Ibadan and I'm a creative designer, a graphic designer. Yeah. Which I believe if we are all familiar, I think most of us are living here. And I believe there was a time where there was a lot of like info going around how that a graphic designer is not a videographer, a graphic designer is not a content creator. But then as someone who is in the creative space, you once in a while have to pick up many hats. Yeah, and that's like my reality. So that's a little info about me. So can I meet us? Can you just send me a message in the chat section where you're joining from, your name, what you do, and where you're joining from. I'm seeing nobody has sent anything. I think I can get me now. And let's talk. Let's relate before the meeting gets started. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to unmute, you can unmute as well to speak. If you won't be able to send a message in the chat, you can unmute so you speak. In the next few minutes, our speaker will be coming up. So before then, yeah, I just want to engage just a bit. Safe. I'd like to know where you're joining us from, what you do, and your expectations for tonight's session. I believe we are all professionals here, and it cuts across every field. Yes, it cuts across every field. The topic we are considering is not just restricted to a specific field. I believe every professional who seeks to get results, yes, every professional who seeks to get results, this kind of webinar, this webinar specifically is for you. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. You're joining from Lagos. You're from Lagos. That's wonderful. How's Lagos? How's Lagos? And how's if you're enjoying Lagos traffic? Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. So, yeah, glad you are here. Yeah, so like I was saying, like I said, every professional is interested in getting results. And just like the film I said, there are certain metrics beyond just results that maybe many of us are not considering. Yeah, there's certain metrics beyond just results. Because if you want to have consistency in results, I believe that one of the things that is important is for us to have a structure because it is structures that produce results so that you'll be able to reproduce that specific result. And perhaps if there is any issue, you'll be able to troubleshoot and say, oh, okay. You'll be able to say, sorry, all right. So perhaps if there are, yeah, so perhaps if there are issues, maybe you come up with issues and you don't get specific results in data, you'll be able to troubleshoot and find out where exactly the structure failed. Yeah, so beyond just the results, I believe there are a lot of things, and I know our speaker is ready to give us a lot, and I believe you would be better for it. Yeah, I believe you're better for it. So just before we wrap up, I'm seeing that if I'm seeing no return. Can I know where you guys are joining from? Um, and the expectations, what you do. I also want to know what you do. Yeah, I would also want to know what you do. 22 minutes, our speaker will be coming up. Oh, you're going to come back on 3:20. Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for logging in. We are in some states. I mean, thank you for logging in. And happy Sunday. I forgot to mention that. Happy Sunday. Just we are having a great day so far. Because I want to get better because after this webinar, I'm sure each and every one of us will use it. A lot of things that will be able to apply to our businesses, professions, and whatever field that we are in. And I know we'll definitely be better for it. Let's just sit tight, get your data ready, get your, I don't say popcorn, but then this is not, this is not the kind of webinar that you need the popcorn for. Yeah, so just get ready for what we'll be doing. So I believe in a few minutes, our speaker will be joining us. In a few minutes, speaker will be joining us. Yeah. Oh, you said you can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Hope I'm audible enough. Can you hear me now? Okay, Oliver. Hope you can hear me now. Okay. If my mic is audible enough. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, so if along the webinar, maybe we can't hear the speaker or we can't, maybe the audio is low, if we can just drop the comments in the chat box so we can address it quickly. Yeah, so we don't miss out on any portion of the meeting. Yeah, so we don't miss out on any portion of the meeting and can have a seamless flow. Yeah, so let's just hold on for a short while I believe our speaker will be joining in a few minutes. You can also, like I said, just drop our expectations for the meeting and what we do as well. I'd like to know what we do um, so that we can actually connect on this page. You never know who needs your services. Yeah, you never know who needs your services. And I believe each and every one of us that are joining are professionals in different fields. So let's do what we do, and perhaps we might find someone that will just connect with you. And from there, yeah. So um let's do what we drop in the chat box, what we do, profession, your hobby, your skill. Mhm. Oh, I can see Priscilla Harrison. Thank you for joining me, Priscilla Harrison. We'll be starting in a few minutes, and we're just trying to wait for our speaker to join in. Yeah, but in the time being, and just let us know where you're joining from, what you do, and your expectation towards tonight's webinar. I believe we are all ready to learn one or two things that we can apply, just like I said earlier, that it's the application that counts, not just the information. The information would be practically and useful if you don't work with it, if you do not engage with it, if you do not practice it. So if we are going to live here, I want us to live here with the determination that whatever I learn, whatever thing I learn, that I see that I am not doing, or I see that if I start doing this thing, it will help my brand, or it will help my business, or it will help me in my profession. I want us to live here with the determination to practice them. Yes, live here with the determination to practice them. Then also along the webinar, if you have questions, if perhaps you have questions that you want to ask the host, sorry, you want to ask our speaker rather, yeah, you can just document them down, or you can leave them in the chat box so you can get to them. Yes, you can get to them. If you wouldn't be able to wait till the end, like you won't be able to wait to the end, perhaps if you might forget your question, you can just drop them in the chat box so we can address them once it's time for the answer and question and answer session. Let me verify again. Hope you can still hear me. I want to believe you can still hear me clearly. Okay. Seems like our speaker is running a bit late. Apologies for that. But I believe in a few minutes we will be here. Can you hear me clearly? Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for your feedback. So like I was saying, I believe she'll be here in a few minutes, so let's just hang on. Let's just hang on for a short while while she joins us. So, or can I let me ask us, where did we get to know about this webinar? Was it through a friend? Was it through LinkedIn? Was it through WhatsApp? Maybe you shared on friends status or friends sent it to you directly. Can you let us know how you were able to discover this webinar? I have to start it on LinkedIn because we actually have a page on LinkedIn that's at Sorexine. We also have a page on YouTube as well at Sorexine. Yeah. And so just let us know if you share it on a friend status, share it on LinkedIn or Facebook, maybe on Facebook. Yeah. So you share it on Facebook, let us know. You share it on your friend's status, let us know. You can track. This is part of the tracking. Sort of the tracking we are talking about. Yeah. So you can know where our audience, most of our audiences, our audience, I think it's like audience, where most of our audience are from. You can track that. That will be the score that we are tracking today. Yeah. Let us know um, how did you find out about the webinar? Was it your friend? Did you see it on LinkedIn? Did you see it on IG? What kind of thing? Okay. So I believe our speaker is here already. Good Africa is here already. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much for joining in. We are really excited for tonight's session, and we believe they're going to be giving us a lot of things to go back home with, to go back to practice with. So in a few minutes, I would just want to read our citation. But before I do, Sigma, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, I think she's off again. I think she's off again, but she will be saying this again. Thank you. I can see Mark and Assisi. Thank you for joining. Our speaker just logged off, so I believe she will join us soon again. So we can have our citation. We can have our citation and she can go ahead to speak. So, okay, so I believe she'll be joining us in a few minutes. Let's just hang on. So sorry for the time and things taken. I think I'll just go ahead to read our citation. So let me open it up from here. Alright. So sorry, give me a few minutes. So sorry, back now. So let's have a citation. Let's just share my screen. We have that here. Can we see the screen? I want to confirm if you can see the screen. Can we see the screen? Oh, you came in joining from LinkedIn. Thank you. Thank you. Can we see the screen I just highlighted just now? Oh, we can't see the screen yet. Okay, let me work on that then. Hmm. Oh, we can see the screen. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So our speaker is in. Our speaker is in. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining me. Thank you so much. Just like I said earlier, um, we are excited for tonight because we know that we have a lot to learn and we have a lot to take back home with us. So without further ado, I would love to read our speaker citation. But before I do, please, Ma, can you confirm that you can hear me clearly? Can you hear us, Ma?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
Good evening,
oh,
everyone.
good evening, Ma. So glad to have you with us. So briefly, I will be reading our speaker citation. So Deborah, so sorry, let's see this. Okay. All right. Sorry, something is up in my screen. Okay. Deborah Olamide is a performance development consultant, coach, speaker, trainer, and author, passionate about helping individuals and organizations unlock their full potential through improved performance, behavioral development, and effective systems. She is the founder of the Bridge. She's the founder of the Bridge the Bridge, yeah, where she helps organizations improve workplace performance through competency frameworks, e-learning solutions, and performance consulting. Our work focuses on both behavioral competencies and systems that help shape results. Deborah has trained teams in organizations such as Lagos Food Bank, Pedifort, and Brazak, and has impacted over 2,000 individuals across Nigeria, Kenya, and beyond through coaching programs, speaking engagements, webinars, just like this one, courses, and her published books. Wow. Driven by faith and purpose, Deborah is committed to raising people into their fullest potentials, professionally, personally, and spiritually. So with that, it's a clapping ovation where we are. Can we welcome our speaker? You're welcome, Ma. Thank you so much, Ma, for being here. Hello, Ma. Can you hear us? Hello, Ma. Can you hear us? You have the floor. If you're speaking, my mic is muted, so we can't hear you. So I think it's so sorry. Please just bear with us. I believe our network is fluctuating. Just if you join us, we'll be back in a few. All right, I see Deborah. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Is there any other new name I haven't mentioned? I think that's this. Deborah, welcome. So sorry, let's just hang on for a bit. Okay, Adenike John, I see you. Welcome. Thank you for joining in. Glad to have you with us. We're just waiting for our speaker. I think our network went off. But she should be back in a few minutes, few seconds. Yeah. All right. Just in for the time being when she joined us, I think I see some things in the comments, so I'll just respond to that. Oh, Ifeoluwa, good evening. I'm Ifeoluwa from Lagos. After writing the test and seeing my results, I became more eager to join this session to learn and hear what the speaker has to say. So good to be here. Thank you so much, Ifeoluwa. Thank you so much for that feedback. I believe, is there any one of us here who also took the test? Any one of us here who also took the test? So we can, I believe our speaker will be addressing that as well. Yeah, our speaker will be addressing. Oh, Africa is back. Okay, Africa is back. Can you hear me now? Deborah, thank you. Thank you. You said you did the test too. Thank you for that. I believe our speaker will address that as well. Good evening, ma. Can you hear me? Can you hear us? You can hear us. You can unmute and speak, ma.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. I didn't John. Thank you so much. Our speaker is in the group already. She's in the meeting already. So I'm just trying to ensure to be sure that she can hear us. Can you hear us, ma? So we can have you.
Yeah, I can hear you. I think, please let me try and
If you're
switch
speaking,
my
I can't
network.
hear you.
My apologies for that. Please just give me a minute.
Okay, ma. All right, ma. No problem. So like I said earlier, I would want us to have our notepads for our daughters ready to jot down the things that we'll be learning as much as we can. Pay close attention, not to miss any detail. Yeah, because like I said, the most important thing is to take away information that you practice, information that you work with. And perhaps if you have questions, like I addressed earlier, if you have questions, ensure that you write them down or you can drop them in the chat box so that once it's time for the question and answer session, you will have your answers at hand and you can address them straight away. Yes, so still waiting for our speaker.
Is it possible to increase the volume a bit, please?
Oh, okay. How about now? Can you hear me? Is the sound now? Is the audio better now?
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Our speaker is here.
Can I go ahead? Am I on now?
Yes, you are on. We can see you. Thank you, ma'am. We can see you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My sincere apologies for the delay. I hope we are doing very well. And let me take this moment to appreciate AY for this rare privilege. I sincerely appreciate it and I do not take it for granted. Thank you for inviting me in. I'm very grateful and I welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. Priscilla, you're welcome. Ikem, you're welcome. Latifa, you're welcome. Fiolua, you're welcome. Deborah, you're welcome. Adinke, you're welcome. Ewa, you're welcome. And Adiwale, you're welcome. Thank you so much. And thank you for the warm intro. I'm grateful. Ultimate Solutions, you're welcome. All right. Let me share my screen and we'll start. Uh, I will start with a story. Uh, so I was recently in a setting where, can you see my screen? Am I, can you see my screen properly?
Yes, ma, we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I was recently in a setting where they needed to organize like a meeting. So let me just use this example, this program or this workshop that we have. So let's say this is like a yearly program or a quarterly program that should always happen every quarter or biannual. So you already know that this is standard practice, right? And you don't get to prepare until maybe say 2 weeks till the time. Not because it's just the usual way, but somehow at a point you had a delay. So maybe you couldn't get people on the team to organize it, or you were also busy with a number of things. And somehow, something that should happen quarterly or even say once in a year, you were trying to find a time to fix it in, many things that could really, really come up actually. And then it happened that you were still able to work around it. In 2 weeks, you were able to plan it, and it was awesome. You're able to get a number of people in the committee. The program held even a physical event, and the venue was set, everything. You had menu. It was well done. And the next year again, you are then ready to also prepare for the program and plan it. And something somewhere in your mind is telling you, okay, we did it last year and we just planned it in 2 weeks. That means we can actually plan it into another 2 weeks. Okay. And then you are waiting till 2 weeks time before you get on the planning again. Not because you don't want to plan earlier, but you have many other priorities or deliverables. And it's just very easy to say, okay, we can plan it in 2 weeks because we did it last year and it came out great. And for real, it came out great last year. So yeah, like we can plan it in another 2 weeks. And then you get people in the committee, and maybe we have new members that were not part of the committee last year, and maybe some of them are like, oh, 2 weeks is too short. Can we extend the date so that we have like maybe 1 month to plan, And because you did it last year and you were able to plan properly for 2 weeks, you are quick to say, no, we did it last year and it was just 2 weeks planning and it came out great. So we can do it again in 2 weeks. Now, you are likely going to say, okay, so what I'm sharing a real life story actually, what I experienced. And then you are likely to, maybe you in the committee now, so someone in the committee is likely to now feel like, okay, are we going to be able to plan it properly? Yes, we can get something done even in 1 week, but the value, the quality, is it going to be great compared to if you have 1 month to plan it? But because you already have an experience where last year you planned it in 2 weeks, you are not likely to say anything wrong with that. Yeah, we're just going to be like, yes, we plan it in 2 weeks. And then you are likely to start to judge those who are like 2 weeks is too short. I likely to judge them and say, uh, well, maybe you need to start to learn more. You need to start to develop yourself. You need to start to build capacity. You need to learn to meet deadlines or work under pressure. All those um, very good qualities that we are very used to, like working under pressure. Now, what then happens eventually is that it becomes a norm where something in your mind already tells you that we can plan this thing in 2 weeks. So you are not likely to make our time properly and adequately for it going forward. It's the way the mind works. Okay. The mind has something called the autocorrect feature. You know, when you're typing on your phone, maybe on WhatsApp and try to type something, there's that thing there that helps you to type it quickly. That autocorrect that will just correct it. Sometimes it's wrong and you just have to delete it and you type what you really want. And sometimes that autocorrect is actually right. Now, the idea of that autocorrect is to help you reduce cognitive load. Cognitive load is that that's little mental energy that you have to use to actually type that thing. It wants to help you cover up for it. Is how the brain is wired to work. It's helping you to reduce cognitive load as much as possible. So where he already knows that, oh, this is what you need, this is what you do, based on past experience, based on past patterns, that's how the brain works. So it auto corrects you to something like a default state. And that default is not that you came with it, is that over time the brain has registered that this is the way you do things. You know, if you're as someone who reads, you probably have read some books where they will tell you maybe books on personal development, building habits. They'll tell you that if you do something consistently for 21 days, you'll get used to it. Yes, it's because the brain will note it again and again and again and again, and the brain is able to now bring it back at the point that you need it without extra effort. It's the way the brain is wired to work. And this thing actually is seen every single way we work, we play, whatever we do, in everything we do, it plays out. I mean, this autocorrect feature of the mind. So if you do something today, just like that example where you planned an event in 2 weeks, where you should have properly allocated time, so you plan properly without pressure, you do it with grace and excellence. But because you didn't have so much time at the first instance, so you planned in the 2 weeks, it worked, and then you now start to normalize it such that you even feel like, oh, that's even a great thing. The fact that you can plan something in 2 weeks and get it done is a great thing. Now, it's dicey, where you already know that this thing is a yearly program. I'm still on my story. Where you already know that this thing is a yearly program or a quarterly program, it shouldn't catch you unawares, right? So you should be able to plan properly for it. If you are not available, for instance, get people in the committee as early as possible. 6 weeks is not too much. 2 months is not too much to plan, But if you start to default to the point where you're like, oh, then we can even continue to plan this thing in 2 weeks. Again, it's not going to be very, very intentional on your part where you sit and say, because we did it in 2 weeks last year, we're going to do it in 2 weeks. You say, no, it's just going to be because the brain has registered it and then it will not work against you. Your brain is not wired to work against you, So it has noted something that you do and how you do it. So it will continue to bring it back to you again and again until you then correct it with a new behavior. Do you see? And then the brain starts to register it again. If you do something consistently for 1 week and then you take one day to want to correct it, it won't work. You often default to what you have been doing in the last 1 week. If you want to correct it, you have to take maybe another 1 week, doing a new behavior again and again for the brain to be able to register it and now default to that state. It's also for those that are Christians here, it's also the principle of renewing the mind, where we have to retrain the mind because there's the way you have been used to before, and you are most likely going to default to that state, even though you don't want to behave that way, but because you're already used to that way of life. So to change it, you have to constantly live in the new way of life. All right. So that's my starting point to say that results are not the whole story, just from the title we have, that these results is what we get does not automatically mean you have done very well. And that's why we must track the things we should track. In our time and age, results is major, is what most people, I can say 99% of people track. While you have to track result and score yourself on that as well, you should much more track the process that gets you there. Very, very important, because it's what determines whether you can replicate the process. It's what determines whether this result is not a one-time thing. It's not one chance. It's something that if we do it again, following the same process exactly, we're going to get the same result. Do you see? So you have to be able to track the journey as against whether we get to the destination or not. You should track the journey that got you to the destination. Right. So if you have ever uh, delivered something that turned out fine, but you know you kind of winged it, that's what I'm talking about. So the results came out well. It was good. But you know that the process that got you there was not great. It's not something that is excellent. Now, while you may find yourself in that situation, the goal here, or the message here tonight, is that you don't you don't keep on in that part, so that you don't start to default to that part. You know, if you continue, without you sitting down and reflecting on the process that got you there, you are going to start to default to that way of life. And it's a shallow way of mind, or a shallow way of living, rather, where it's just about the results. It doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how you got there, you just need to deliver it, and that's all. So we were actually trained to finish, not necessarily to go. It is that process that takes you to the destination that actually grows us. It is not whether we finish or not. Just sometimes we don't even get the desired results, but we have followed through a process that has grown us, trained us, disciplined us, built resilience in us. These are actually things that stand test of time, not necessarily that you got to the finish line. So it's good to ensure you get to the finish line, or you should be able to map the process step by step, how you got to the finish line, and then check it. You may get to the finish line even though the process was wrong, or the process was not good, or was not excellent. You don't want to continue to um, behave in a shabby way, even though you end up with the result. Do you see? You don't want to, for instance, I've experienced how an employee can actually come late to work and they are always constantly rushing into the office. They will eat the resumption time, it's 8 a.m. But the way they eat the resumption time is that they are always, always, always struggling. I mean, you are almost rushing to say, it's almost, everybody knows, okay, you are going to rush in when you eventually meet up with the time. So you meet up with the time. The register says you always come in 8, 8, 8. It's not bad if you come in 8 on dot. It's bad that you have to always rush in every time. Did they change your resumption time? It's been 8 for maybe 1 year, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. So how come you are always the one rushing every single time to hit that mark? Why do you have to rush every time? Just that's the issue here. So you hit it and nobody's going to query, because when they check the register, they see that, oh, Deborah is always here 8 a.m. Good of you. But the way you are always rushing, it speaks so much about the kind of person you are actually becoming. All right. Okay, so yeah, the results can actually lie to us, but our process definitely will tell us the truth. So one of the things you can actually start to note about your process is how you prepare before you start. Okay. So how did I prepare for this meeting before I show up? I can actually show up here and everybody can be clapping for me, saying, oh, wow, 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 wow. But the process that got me here may not be great. And it will take a lot of sincerity on my own part and integrity to sit down and say, no, this is not the way to prepare for a session. Do you understand? So your process will definitely tell you the truth. And first thing is, how do you prepare before you start anything at all? How do you prepare? How do you think before you act? And how do you think before you talk? these are things that show, when people talk, if you're very intelligent, when people talk, you are most likely able to understand their thinking process, their thinking pattern, the kind of thinking that made them say this. When you observe the decisions that people make, you are also able to map it to say, no, it's this kind of mindset that is likely to produce this kind of decision. That's, if you yourself, you have been growing. So how you think before you act, how you think before you even speak, how you handle your own errors. Errors, should I say, bound to happen, but how do you undo it going forward? If I make an error in a submission, I'm supposed to submit something to my pastor, to my boss, to my leader, to my line manager, and there's an error there, and I don't how do I put it? My boss didn't get to see it, and it just passed. And how do you undo it going forward? Do you ensure that you don't make that kind of error again, or you conclude that no, that ain't O'Leary, is that my boss is not likely to see it? Is that kind? What kind of conclusion do you make, and how does it now inform the way you work going forward? That's what we are saying. That these are things that speak a lot about your process. If you're supposed to be anywhere, let's say church, at work, school, wherever, by 9 a.m., and you are not there, you are not often there by 9 a.m., that's your boss does not ask or nobody's checking, does not mean you should be coming late. And it's dicey, why I say it's dicey, because if you feel like, oh, there's no consequence for it, then I can as well spend some time doing some other things and then show up when I want, if I'm still going to be able to get what I'm supposed to get at that place. Yes, that kind of thinking also um, can creep in. But you have to understand that you are building yourself with every simple step that you take, every simple decision you make. You're actually building yourself. You are grooming yourself in a certain way. All right. So if you make mistakes and you make errors, how do you undo it? Are you quick to make adjustments, or you are just like, oh, nobody actually asked about whether I came late or not, or you're asked to submit something, you know, and nobody's actually checking it. You submitted it like maybe 3 months in a row, and nobody said anything, whether you got it, whether you made a mistake. So you're like, well, they don't even check it. So the months that you're not even able to meet up, you just feel like, no, the kukuma will not check it. So let me not bother. Now, you are already towing a path that is not going to last long. At the end of the day, it's a vote for the kind of person you want to be. And I want to believe we are all young people here. I do not think that there's anyone who is up to 40 here. I'm not sure, but I want to believe that nobody is at least 40 here. So we are still young people. We are youths, meaning that you still have many years ahead of you. And these little things speak to the kind of person you want to be. It should not be a function of whether they will check it or not, or whether somebody will call you out or not. It should be a function of the kind of life you want to build, the kind of person you want to be, the kind of legacy you want to build. How you receive feedback. Feedback sometimes can be positive and sometimes they are negative. The way you take them matters. There are feedback you get that you can sit and look at it and be like, no, this person is actually wrong. Maybe they misunderstood me or something. Yeah, that's fine. The feedback you get that it's actually true and it came in as a negative one, and you are likely going to want to fight back or be defensive. But do you just brush it aside, or you take time to say, oh, Deborah, you didn't do well here. I need to adjust here. If it's a case of the feedback is negative, but you truly did a reflection and you saw that no, this is not actually me, that's fine. But if it's a case that you did the reflection and you saw it you, then you should take it seriously. But the issue here is that we don't even do the reflection. I have a privilege of dealing with a lot of young people, and people most likely just move on too quickly, especially we young people. we get to live something I call a fast-paced life. So you are constantly moving, even in your mind, even if you are not on the move physically, like you're sitting somewhere, but you are constantly moving and moving and moving and moving. And that kind of a life does not give time for quietness, does not give time for stillness, does not give time for reflection. And if you don't reflect, you're not going to grow in any way you want to look at it, whether with respect to your spirituality, with respect to your finances, with respect to maybe you're building a family, whatever it is. If you don't take time to reflect, you are not going to grow. You're not going to be able to see the things that are working and why they are working. You're not going to be able to see what is not working and why they're not working. Many other things that are in betweens that should inform how you then take the next step. You're not going to see it because you did not take that time to say, this one that happened, what happened here really? All right. How consistent you are when no one is checking, and this is where everything really lies. When no one is checking, when no one is asking questions, it's a question on your integrity. Do you still show up as a proper, well-rounded person, or it's about nobody's going to ask, so there's no point. And then the day you meet a boss that will always ask, then you adjust yourself. So it means that you are not living an authentic life at the end of the day. It's about the externalities, not about you, the self-respect and self-image you have of yourself, the honor that you place on yourself, the dignity you place on yourself. If it's about the honor and the respect you place on yourself, it will inform the way you show up, whether anybody is looking at you or not, whether anybody is asking questions or not, whether anybody is checking you or not. Okay. So excellence is not what you produce, it's what you do when no one is actually checking you. So that's a true test of our excellence. If you say you are excellent, then it's not just about the result you are producing again and again. It's also about when no one is actually checking you. Are you truly excellent? One of the things I tell people that come around me is I say something like the true test of whether you are hardworking and diligent is not first about your job. Why? Because if you don't do your job well, you're likely to get a query letter, a sack letter, deduction in your salary, something like that. So, of course, why won't you do it well? You do it well. The true test of your diligence at working is the things you commit to outside of work or outside of somebody checking you, where it now takes you to remind yourself, to wake yourself up, to get it done, to submit to yourself. Do you see? Those are things that are actually true tests of whether you are committed, on time, diligent, or not. If somebody is checking, which is not wrong and is encouraged, but if somebody is checking, it's already put you in a place where you have to adjust and do the right thing at the bare minimum. Some people will still not do the right thing, even if somebody's checking. But at the bare minimum, when you know that somebody is going to check, then there's a way you just sit up. You don't need anybody to tell you. But when nobody's checking, that is actually where the test lies. It is in the submission that nobody will ask you about. It is in how you even do in your room, in your house, where if there's no visitor, it's just you alone. So nobody's checking anything, nobody's seeing anything. Right. Two ways to work. And let me share an example here that can help us relate. You know how if and this might speak to in some people. My apologies in advance. Okay, but I've met people that would say no, that since they finished school, they are not going to read any book again, or they've not read any other book again. And some people, even as students, will say that the moment I finish my final year like this, no, I don't want to see book again. Now, take it or leave it. Reading helps us grow, and it matures us in ways that you never can tell. You have to read. If you want to be a well-rounded, proper person, you have to read intellectual books about your skill sets, your career you're building, even your spirituality, even about building just simple habits, and mindsets. You have to read. But then when people say, oh, I'm not going to read again after school, It's not because they cannot actually read. It's just that all along that they've been reading is because, oh, I must not fail. So I have to read. I have to read. I can't have I can't have a carryover. So I have to read. That kind of a thing. So the moment nobody is checking it, there's no system in place again to say, oh, if you don't read, you will fail. They will not read. It's unfortunate, but that's where we have found ourselves. And this is an example everybody will be able to relate with. That when one is checking, it is what you do then that is actually you. That's what speaks to who you are, your authentic self. When nobody's checking, when nobody will ask you about that thing, that is what speaks to your authenticity. And that is what you should be tracking. That's a score you should be scoring yourself on. How you come across, how you show when nobody's going to question you, right? And I have two ways here. It's either you are doing it for the camera, or you're watching yourself in the mirror. You are watching yourself in the real time, checking how you're behaving, understanding why you think this way, why you dress this way, why you coordinate yourself this way. You are being deliberate and you're saying patterns, you're saying, oh, okay, if I do this because of this, then this is this. That's how we spend time reflecting and spend time understanding the process to which we do the things we do. And this is what grows us. Please, are we still together? I just need to confirm that everybody is here.
Yes, ma, we're following you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and then now to those who lead, maybe you have a position as a leader, as a founder, as a ministry head, whatever. I have found that again and again that sometimes even leaders don't check what they should check. And if there's anything they know about performance, like if you want to stimulate performance in any setting, in your community, in your church, at work, at home, in anywhere, first is that there has to be a standard practice where, people should know that this is what good looks like. This is what poor work looks like. This is what excellent work looks like. Do you see? I should be able to tell that, oh, this is what poor submission is. This is what's good enough. This is what excellent is. So that should be standard practice. Now, you should then ensure compliance of standard practice. Many times, leaders don't ensure compliance, whether because it's a lot of work and they themselves are busy, or they just feel like, well, I've done my own. If you like, do it well. If you like, don't do it well. That kind of attitude. So, if you are not watching, there's a problem. You are giving more room for people to perform anyhow, you see. And also, what do you reward? What do you question? What do you ask about? If at all you are even asking, or if at all you are rewarding, there is one thing for you to not say anything. And that's the first, step, is that you must check, you must ensure compliance, you must ask questions. Do you see? So don't say people should submit 2 p.m. and you are not there 2 p.m. to check whether people are submitting or not. So how do you want me to take your word serious next time? This is not that you should come and be it's standard practice. If people are supposed to submit something to you by 2 p.m., you should be checking whether they're submitting it or not. We're going to give them grace and say it's 2 p.m. and every submission should have come in. We are giving you grace to 3 p.m. But don't just make up in your mind that, oh, let's just give them grace to 3 p.m. because nobody will know that you actually gave them grace to 3 p.m. If you come back and say, oh, the reason I didn't ask at 2 p.m. was because I just felt, let me give you 1 hour extra. It already comes in as an excuse. And it may not even be an excuse. But because you did not do what you should do upfront, it looks like, oh, maybe the boss girl did not have time by 2 p.m. That's why he did not call us. And there's no problem if you don't have time by 2 p.m. But you should ask for what you said people should deliver. That's how I will take you serious next time. That's how we know that, oh, this thing, it actually means a lot to you. That submission by 2 p.m. is something to you. If you just say submit 2 p.m. and it's 5 p.m., nobody has submitted and you're not saying anything, it tells me that that submission is not very, very important. So you just have to put a time to it as per. That's how leaders do. So you if you set standard practice, you should check compliance to standard practice by all means. And you should reward those who do well. And you should also call out those who don't do well. Not call out in a way to diminish them or make them feel bad or bring down their morale. No. It's a simple way, that you can. So let's say we are in a meeting now and submission is supposed to be by 2 p.m. and then some people submitted on time, some submitted later, and then it's 7 p.m. that same day or maybe next day in the morning, and I'm saying, okay, I appreciate AY and Adenike for submitting their reporting by 2 p.m. or before 2 p.m. I saw it when it came in and well done, good job, da 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 da. If Oluwa knew you came in, your submission came in way late, after 2 p.m. What happened? You should ask that kind of question. Yes, you should ask. Let me tell you what I've seen, that leaders do. Sometimes they don't even ask. Sometimes they mention it and say, well, if Oluwa know you came in, I saw that your submission came in late. Please do better next time. We don't allow this. Da 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 da. No, that won't work because, of course, that's just a normal random thing that you say. But ask why they submitted late and let them know that when they submit late, it's affecting somebody else's work somewhere, maybe your own work. If you do that, I am able to see that, okay, there is something that this thing really matters and I have to do my best and come up higher. Now, you also have to say it publicly like this. The same way you have appreciated AY and Adenike, the same way you should be able to talk to Ifeolu and Oike and say, why did your submission come late? It's very simple. The way I'm talking very gentle. I'm not shouting. Nobody's supposed to feel like their morale is being brought down. But you should ask. If you ask behind, because that's also what I've observed, and maybe you call Adenike, I mean, is it Ifeolu and you came into your office and then you're saying, oh, why is the submission late? Yes, you do that and maybe they answer you, blah, 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 blah. What you have done is that you have made it clear to Ewa and Adenike that, yes, they did what they should do and you appreciate it, but those who didn't do it too, is okay too. That's it. It's okay too. And it's not okay. It should not be okay. If you're a leader that is growing people and you're not just trying to measure outputs, trying to say, oh, have you submitted? If you are submitted, that's fine. If we are leaders, it means that we are committed to developing people. That's one characteristic of being a leader. Anywhere you are a leader, even if it's a leader that you didn't see it coming and somebody just said, oh yeah, come and lead this team. The moment you are a leader, a team lead, head of ministry, whatever, line manager, department head, project coordinator, whatever, people should grow and develop even while they deliver their outputs and their results. Yes, very important. So if anyone is a leader, you're as leaders, you should ensure compliance. Check what you ought to check. Check it at the right time and call to question the things you should call to question. Those who do well, reward them, appreciate them. Those who don't do well, call it out to ask questions. Why didn't you do well? Let's know. And do it in an open space like this so that I know that, okay, if I don't do it, my boss will ask me. When you call somebody to the back to say, okay, you didn't do what you're supposed to do, what happened? I don't mean in the meeting, I don't know that you're actually checking those who don't do it. So I'm likely to not do it when I find myself not able to do it. Do you see? Now, are there instances where you have to address issues privately? Yes. So if you ask question like this and somebody is saying something that looks maybe confidential or like a major issue where they could not meet up, then you can reach out to them later and say, okay, let's meet in the office or something. But that you just feel like, oh, because this person did do it, let me ask the person behind. Because this person feel like an elder person, let me ask the person behind. It doesn't help what you are building. Number one, I mean the general overall goal that you want to achieve with respect to performance, and it doesn't help the persons to grow, including the person that didn't do it well, including those that are doing it well. And over time, what you are teaching those that are doing it well is that it does not really matter. And that's not the kind of people you want to raise, because it's a long-term thing, and the results will show eventually. The hidden cost, a weak process that keeps producing okay results isn't timeless, it's building a ceiling. Okay, number one, the confidence trap. Yes, when you continue to produce results again and again, even when the process is not very good, you start to believe that you are okay, you're good, you can make it happen, and da 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 da. Da. And if you then have a leader that is not even checking it, that helps you to continue to just do what you do. Or you have a leader that just want to see the results, and so you say, okay, did you do it well? Did you get results? Did you hit the mark? The person is not bothered about the process. Now, what happens is you start to think that you are over and above until you step into a different workplace or a different scenario, or you have a new manager, a new boss, and then your gap becomes very, very visible. At the end of the day, you are not even likely to appreciate that boss that didn't, sit you down and teach you what you should have known, or demand diligence, and quality work from you from one start. So the growth ceiling, when you repeat and repeat and repeat something, you know, without reflection or without doing it right, you are still passing time. Because at the end of the day, when you get to the finish line, you see that you were not actually growing. You were just delivering output again and again and again and again. For you yourself, you were not growing. You continue to do it that same way because it's producing the results, whether the way is good or not, whether it's excellent or not, whether it's a mark, for the kind of person you want to become, the kind of life you want to live, the kind of legacy you are building. The reputation risks. Your reputation is built on patterns, not one-offs. Okay. So inconsistency eventually shows when you prioritize results above process. Okay, so two questions to think through in 1 or 2 minutes is that, when last did you look at how you did something? When last did you look at how you did something? Not just whether it worked, but how did it work? What did I do that made it work? Do you get? What's the process that took me here or that brought me here? Then what habit are you building right now, disguised as a result? What habit are you building right now, disguised as a result? Whether you like it or not, for everything we do, we are building habits. That's why I started with that, the way the brain and the mind works, so that you know that
It's frozen. Is it from here or there?
I believe it's from our speaker. Let's just hang on a bit. I believe it's our network. It should be sorted out soon. Yes, ma, you're back now.
is am I? Oh, my sincere apologies for that. Okay, can you see my screen now? My uh, let me get back. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, ma, we can.
All right, thank you. Okay, so what habit are you building with every single step, every single decision you're making? What habit are you building? I I I have a very simple but powerful idea. Is that we are all leadership experts, something like that. And why I say that is because you are already leading yourself, whether you like it or not. And you're leading yourself based on the decisions you make every single time, every single moment. Leadership is not first about title or position or even leading people. It's first about whether you are leading yourself or not. And I like to think that everybody's leading themselves. It's just that you're probably not doing it intentionally or you're doing it intentionally. But it's not that you will come into a point where I am now starting to lead myself. No. It's that you either come into a point where you say, I am not starting to lead myself intentionally or more aligned to the kind of person I want to be. Because leadership or leading yourself or leading someone, your people, is characterized by making decisions. What kind of decisions do you make? If you are able to make a decision, you're leading yourself. If you made a decision to be here tonight, you led yourself to be here. Yes. You had to do one or two things. Clear out the time, prepare, set your timer, calendar, whatever, to be here. That's you leading yourself. The question now is it intentional or is it life just happening? Is it taking you to where you are going? You're being here tonight. Is it aligned with the kind of person you want to be, with the future you're building? That's the question. So when we do things, we are building habits. But you need to be sure whether it's for the kind of life you truly want or otherwise. Okay, what excellent process actually looks like. Three things here is that be intentional before you even begin. All right. Know what good looks like. Have a standard practice for yourself, for your team, for your organization, for your family, for your children. Do you see? Let them know that, okay, this is what good work looks like. This is what excellent work looks like. This is what bad work looks like. I should know, so that I can measure myself with those things. So even for your own life, be intentional. Know the kind of person you want to become. Know how you want to show up. Know how you want to dress. Know how you want to talk. Know how you want to relate. Do you see? It then helps you to alter your life. And then you will not be reacting. It's you intentionally then building your life. Number two is monitor yourself while you work. Measure in real time. Like as you take those baby steps towards maybe completing a project, getting your work done, submitting, or whatever you're doing, you're writing a book, you're building a course, you're teaching, whatever. Because you already have standard practice before you can measure quality, right? So the second point is that now measure as you go along. Don't wait till the finish line before you then look at it as a whole. Measure it as you take those steps. That's why if you have standard practice, one thing we encourage people to do is to have checklists. If I must go from point A to point B, what are the things that must actually happen to move me from point A to point B? Have it as a checklist so that it helps you to check, whether you are following through and you can measure it in real time. If you don't have a checklist, then means you are waiting to see whether you get to point B or not. So when you get to point B, you're not like, okay, how did I get it? If you don't get to point B eventually, you're like, okay, why come I didn't get it? But if you have a kind of checklist that tells you that, okay, to get from point A to point B, these are the things that must by all means happen. And maybe some other things that may or may not happen. It helps you monitor yourself real life. And that is also leading yourself. These are the things to track. These are the scores you should be scoring yourself on. Not just that I arrive at point B. All right. Because if you arrive at point B without knowing how you arrive at point B, you're not likely to be able to even arrive at point B the next time. Number two, you're not likely to be able to bring another person up, help them to arrive at point B because you are yourself, you're not sure how you arrived at point B. Number three is honest review after you finish. So review how you work. Do you see you got to the finish line, you got a pass mark or you got a low mark, whatever, it's failed or you passed, it was successful, whatever. Whether it failed or was successful, review it. Get into that place where you do a honest reflection of how you behave. Okay? It helps you to see yourself better uh, by the day. And then you see things you need to adjust, things you need to sustain, things you need to start to do, things you need to drop completely. Okay. Three questions that you can use as a quick one is Did you prepare well for this? Anything that you start, anything that you engage yourself in, did you prepare well for it? Like the example I gave, that maybe somebody's constantly coming in a very disorganized way. Yes, they will come in, they will meet up at 8 a.m., but they are always often disorganized when they come. You have to say, did I prepare well? Did I prepare the last night? Or did I start preparing this morning? If I started preparing this morning, what time did I start to prepare this morning? These are things to sit down and look at it. You see, when you do that, you are able to see where the loopholes are and you're able to make adjustments. You would also see where you are doing well and you can reinforce those areas where you're doing well. Number two is, was I honest with myself about quality while I was doing it? No. Again, this boils back to if nobody's really, really going to check your work and you know that kind of thing, that, or even if they check it, maybe your leader too is not so keen about quality that much. They just want you to deliver. You are most likely going to be tempted to just also say, let me just deliver. They will not check it, but you have to be very honest with yourself because you are building yourself, you are raising yourself, and you are also going to be raising other people. If at all, maybe your spouse, your children, your siblings, at least at the bare minimum. Okay. So you have to be honest with, did you uh make that conscious choice to say I will deliver quality work while you were working, or you were open to cutting corners just so you could meet deadline, or so you could just pass and say, oh, she submitted her work, that's fine. Do you see? Number three is, what does my process here say about where I am right now? Your process right now about certain things, if you pick three areas of your life and you check your process, it's able to tell you your habits, your standards, what you prioritize, what takes your time, what takes your attention, what you're committed to. It's when you sit down and you see those things, it's like an x-ray and it gives you a better place, or puts you in a better place where you can make adjustments where necessary, right? Your results might be forgiving you, but your process is keeping score. All right. So you can actually be delivering results, whether they are good or not, shabby or not, well done or not. And it could be passing through and passing through and passing through, and nobody's saying anything, nobody's calling you to it. But you are building your life in a way that you are not likely to like. You're building your life in a way where you will not be able to have a very good legacy to leave, for others. You're building your life where you are not going to be authentic, and live with integrity in the long run. All right. So whether the result says pass mark or fail mark, what's the process saying? Are you keeping scores? Sometimes you can do something and it's fail, but the process was a success because you learned along the way. Not the generic way we just always say that um, anything you do, you are learning. Yes, don't worry, you're still going to learn. Yes, but really, really, really check. Okay, so if you say anything we do, I'm learning from it. What have I learned from this one? And then other things is that you would have built tenacity, resilience. Maybe you've met more people while working on the project. You've learned to speak better. You've learned to show up well. You've learned to dress well. At the end of the day, that is a lot more success than just you getting to the finish line and getting a first mark, because it has built you, and that's what you will always have with yourself forever. Any work you deliver in church, at home, at work, you've delivered it for whoever asked for it and you've moved on. Do you see? But your own life, you yourself as a person, what kind of person are you building? And it is, you will remain with yourself as you go along. You're not submitting yourself to me or to anybody. It will continue. The habit you have built, do you see? It will continue with you. So the goal here is to say that beyond any output, any work, any deliverable, you have to be sure that, am I building the kind of life I want to build? Okay, these are scores that you must by all means track. And yes, I will put an end to it here. Build a life and a process that is worth backing, and build a life and a process that is worth emulating. regardless of what our time and our age is saying. Be sure of the kind of person you want to become, be sure of the legacy you want to leave behind, and be committed to the process. Be truly, 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 truly committed to the process. All right. I would like to put a stop to it here. Thank you for having me. Should I take? Okay, let me hand over properly. And I see that I think I've spent 4 minutes extra. My sincere apologies. Thank you
Oh,
for the
no
privilege.
problem at all, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for this session. Wow, it's so enlightening. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, man. I think we just go straight ahead into questions. Go straight ahead into questions. I don't know if there's anybody here who has questions for our speaker. Do I have some here, but I want to see if anybody has some questions. You can just drop our questions in the chat box while I read out some of the questions that I have here for our speaker. Okay, I have a question here that says, how can someone tell if they are overly focused on outcomes rather than processes? Should I take that again? Can you hear me, ma? I think your mouth might be
Yes,
muted.
yes. Please, you can take it down. You can take it again.
Okay, all right, ma. It says, how can someone tell if they are overly focused on outcomes rather than processes?
Okay, thank you. So, first is that if you are not taking time to reflect on how you got the results, the outputs, then you are most likely focused on the outputs. Just like I shared in some of the questions I said you have to ask, is that as you even do the work, are you watching out for whether you are hitting the mark for a standard practice or what you should do, or you are not? I mean, are you checking along the way? If you're not checking along the way and you're just with the mindset of let me just get this done, let me just submit it, then you're actually overly focused on the results. You have to be much more committed to the process. You have to be intentional about every single step you take towards that process. Many times we are not intentional. We just want to get it done so that they don't call our name us out and say you did what you should do. But beyond whether you do what you should do or not, is that what am I taking step one, step two, step three, step four? Are you looking at those things one by one while you are working? Before you get to that final output, are you checking, okay, you're supposed to deliver something by Thursday. Today is Monday. What have you done? And how did I do the things I did today? What's the process that I'm committing to this? Let me give you a very, maybe a personal example. So when I joined my church extension, that's like 3 years ago in 2023, in my ministry, I was asked to undo the finances to collect deals and whatever, the finances. Now, that was all I was told to do. When I started out with a simple note where I would just say, okay, income here, expenses here, and I'll be recording it. But I mean, I just told myself, let me work on a proper, Excel sheet or Google sheet rather, that has all the formulas, whatever that if I input this here, so you can see everything. Now we have a detailed Google sheet that you almost think is I'm running a company, and we were just even three in the ministry as at that time. But I took it upon myself to do it properly. You know, you would see the rundown of 2023, rundown of 2024, 2025, 2026. You will see what came in the year, what went out in the year, those that paid the dues, those that paid the one that was said, no, your due was for these gifts, for this person, everything detailed. And I just decided that one day I would just sit down and do it. Nobody asked me to do it. And believe you me, nobody asked of it until just a few months ago. Since 2023. I mean, nobody said, okay, let's even see the record. I could have said, nobody's asking. Why am I doing it? Why am I working on a master Google Sheet? Who is sending me? Yeah. But it was just my own decision to say, no, Deborah, you can do better here. Nobody has asked me. Since 2023, imagine, it was just a few months ago, it was asked, and probably because we had a new leadership, and I was able to present something that people were like, wow, what made you sit down and do this kind of work? Ooh. I said, honestly, I just decided to do it. Nobody sent me to do it this way. So it's first about the kind of life you want to build. And that thing has built me. It's a process that I had to learn through it. I did it myself, you know. Now I know how to do it. Now I even have a template I can modify for anything at all. A business here, that one here. So it's about the life you want to live, the way you want to show, what you want to be known for. So when you are doing the things you are doing, you check whether it is hitting the mark or not. Do you understand? So also is that another example is when I'm asked to submit maybe a review of something, I always want to follow a proper pattern. Not because there is a pattern or a template, but it's just I just don't think I should just submit it anyhow.
Hello, are you still there?
Submission.
Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now, man. We
Yeah,
can hear
yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah, I was saying that it also boils down to the way you carry yourself and the honor you place on yourself. For me, if they ask me, say, let's see Deborah's submission. I don't want you to see my submission and you are complaining. It's just I don't want it to be that when they are saying that somebody didn't do well, it is my name they will be calling. No, no, maybe it's pride, I don't know, but I just don't want to be in that category. So what value do you place on yourself? What's the respect you place on your own self? It determines how you show up. I believe I've answered that question.
Yes, ma, you have. Thank you so much, ma. I think one of the major things I have picked so far from this session is that excellence is not a product of the mindset of the individual before it's like an outcome, before it's something that you can apply to your work. So if we are not like pursuing excellence, diligence, and commitment as a person, it will definitely reflect in the long run in how we handle our work. Thank you so much, ma. I think I have one more question here. Let's see. I think yes, from the webinar, I think you also addressed not just individuals, but also leaders. So there's a question here that talks about how can a leader create a culture that values both outcomes and execution? How can a leader create a culture that values both outcomes and execution?
Okay. How can leader create a culture that values both outcome and
Outcomes
execution?
and
Good,
execution. Yes.
good. Number one is that you cannot enforce with your mouth what you undermine in practice. Meaning that don't tell me to do it this way when you will not do it this way, regardless of whether you're the CEO or the whatever. Yes. So you can't enforce with your mouth what you yourself undermine in practice. So first is that lead by example in the process and in the deliverable. So if you have a team that you gather together and there's something you have done, let them see the process that took you there. Do you see? They understand that process matters as much as output matters. Number two is let there be standard practice. There are certain things that are recurring, whether in church, at home. There are certain things that are standard. I mean, you almost have to do them every day. Those things should have standard practice. You could work out a template, a checklist, a job aid, something that everybody knows that, okay, this is standard practice in this organization. And show it, share it, talk about it, and you yourself follow the standard practice. Don't tell people to do something. You can't require of others what you have not first required of yourself. It won't stand the test of time. So if you have standard practice, follow it. If you don't, you need to get standard practice. It will show in your standard practice that you value execution, you value the process as much as you value the output and the outcome. Okay. And then, like I said, you need to now measure, are these standards, are they being followed? You know, if they are being followed, what do you do? If they're not being followed, what do you do? It is one thing to measure it and say, oh, nobody's really following this, or two people are following it, four people are not following it, and then you stop there. That won't also help whatever you're building. You have to then say, those that are not following, what do we do? Those that are following, what do we do? So measure whether these standards are being practiced or not. That's how culture is built. It's not just to place it on the wall, share it in a document with everybody, and then you think culture is no. It is practice. The more you practice something again and again and again, if you there are even things that you just start to practice, and it automatically becomes a culture that nobody necessarily verbalized it. It was not documented, but because it has been done again and again and again and again and again, it just becomes the culture of that place. So when you have something you want that has to be a culture, document it, make it known. I always say document it because somebody can actually show up tomorrow and say, we were not told. Yes, I was doing it, or everybody's doing it. It looks like they know, but nobody told us. And yes, you cannot hold that person liable to what you have not asked them to do. You didn't tell me to do it. I just felt it's a culture and I'm doing it. Do you see? And that culture is built that way too, where people can just start to do something and it becomes the norm. But you cannot hold on to that. Document the way you want things to be done. Let it be clear in that documentation that process is as much as important as the output and the outcome. And always ask about process. So when people submit and then they do it well or they don't do well, ask them about the steps that took them there. I want to understand how you're able to arrive at this. I want to understand how these numbers became this. It's not anything long. In one sentence, two sentences, they should be able to tell you something. It shows that beyond, oh, you did it well or you didn't do it well, what's the process like? So when you are checking, these are questions to ask. It's to communicate immediately that yes, process matters. And again, in what you reward and in what you don't reward. If you reward something that you don't want to be a culture, let's believe it's already a culture. Thank you.
No, yes, ma. You can finish up that thought so we can end it.
Okay. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. I was saying that if you reward what you don't want to be a culture, then it's already a culture because you are constantly rewarding it. You are constantly reinforcing it, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And if you don't call out what you should call out to, it becomes a culture because you're not saying anything about it. Though it's, human beings naturally will, we're not going to do what we should do. People want to do what they want to do, not what they should do. So putting systems in places that there's standard practice in place, everybody's aware of it, they know it, you say it in your communication. When you also deliver work or when you review work, you are checking for those things. These are things that will show that, oh, this thing matters here. And then it becomes a culture. Thank you.
All right, ma. Thank you so much for that. I believe everyone who is here can be any witness that our speaker has addressed a lot of issues, and I believe each and every one of us has a takeaway, major takeaways from tonight's meeting. Let me just check the chats for see if we have one more question. Okay, I think there's no question here. Do I have a lot more questions? Because of our time, I would just skip the questions for now. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much, Ma. Tonight was really insightful. As a professional, I know there are a lot of things I myself I have learned. Just like how I said earlier, how that excellence is just a mindset before it's an outcome of something that I do or reflected in something that I do. And as a leader is basically a model. You have to be the model. Don't just say, it's not say do as I say, but more about do as I do as a leader. You should practice the things that you want to, the culture, yeah, practice the culture that we want to see those under us um, adopt as well. So thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much, Ma, for tonight. We are really grateful. Thank you for honoring our call and for being around to share with us. Yeah, so thank you everyone for being available for tonight. The recording as well for tonight's meeting will be available on YouTube soon, so we can always go back and check if perhaps there are things we missed or perhaps we joined late, yes, we can always go back to YouTube to check them out and just a few things. Yeah, but I think many of us might have been in transit. So we can the video recording will still be available on YouTube for us to go through. Yes, thank you so much, Maria. Yeah, so thank you
Thank you for
for,
having me. I really do appreciate it.
yes,
I do not take it for granted.
you're welcome. All right, let's have a lovely evening and a great week ahead. Yes, a great week ahead. Thank you so much, everybody, for being around. Let's have an awesome week. So thank you, Peolua, thank you, Priscilla, thank you, Deborah, thank you, Kenny, thank you, Martha, thank you, Lois. Thank you so much for being available, for being around tonight. Let me see if I can see other names. Really, thank you. I think I've mentioned Martha. Alex, Chief Alex, thank you so much. Thank you for being around. God bless you guys. Let's have a great week ahead. Yeah, we can exit the room now. Yeah.